Buongiorno, and in the pink today we have André Noy. We had quite an unusual set to yesterday when he grabbed the pink jersey of race leader, and there you see him on your screen lying about fifth back from the front with his teammates, the ASICS CGA team defending his lead. We've had not a lot of activity today, but there are three men down the road. We're about 25 kilometres from the finish, or coming up that point, and those three riders have just a slender lead at the moment, and something tells me as we hit this last big climb of the day that the whole thing is likely to erupt like Vesuvius that we passed about 5 days ago. You can see just 16 seconds now separating our breakaway threesome, who had been before that, what have we got, 2, 4, 6, 7 riders, and 4 have got dropped off, and all we've got left now of that group is Cangionieri of the Balan team, number 37. Number 49 is Raimondi of the Brescia Liquidas team, and number 167 of the team from Vini Cadreola, and that's Dennis Zenit. So I think that they're all going to be swallowed up, and let's hope they're not spat out the back, as often happens when we come up on the climbs. I'm David Duffield. I thank you for your company here on Saturday afternoon, joining us on Eurosport. A lot of sport live on Eurosport. A lot of things happening, the motorcycling and the tennis, where I understand great seeds have fallen from great heights. But we had great crashes yesterday too. Gotti, in fact, we couldn't pick it up on our information yesterday during the race because riders were just going down the mountain and falling into the ditch, as you saw when both Pantani and Zulla came a box of tricks, and Tonkov nearly slammed into a wall. Well, Gotti fell down twice yesterday. He was the winner last year of the Tour of Italy, but he said that he didn't like the climb yesterday. As we're looking at our 3 leaders at the moment, he didn't like the climb because it was too short, and today it will certainly suit him because it's a lot longer. Luc Leblanc yesterday, amazingly, started in 60th spot on the climb, and he went right the way up, as you know, and put in tremendous form. In fact, he started to come through towards the end as our 3 breakaways now disappeared down the road, and so it was a good performance then from Luc Leblanc to do the ride he did do on that stage into the finish at Giro, where we started this morning covering 165 kilometres on this stage 14 of the Tour of Italy. Giro to Piencavallo, and the sting is very much in the tail. We've got a climb of 14 kilometres in all, and it goes up from 160 metres above sea level to a point 1,267 metres above sea level. There's a nasty bit in the middle, and it really is nasty. It's gut-busting about halfway up it when they turn onto a very, very almost leg-sapping, legs breaking apart, and then they get back again and off they go all the way up. But other than that, most of the climb is round about between 10 and 13%, the toughest parts. But then we get toward the top, running in toward the finish, the last few kilometres are not too bad. It sort of flattens off a bit, but by then they'll be absolutely no, I won't say they'll be on their knees. Something I was going to say also begins with K. Right, let's take you through what happened today before I look back again at yesterday. It started this morning on the stage very, very fast indeed. We had an average speed of 47.9 kilometres in the first hour. That's near down at 48 kilometres an hour. And what's that in my arithmetic? 40 kilometres an hour is 25 miles an hour. So they must have done 25, yeah, they must have been close on 30 kilometres an hour. So that was a tremendous burst of speed this morning to start with the first hour. And the race was going through Farazin's home village. He's the Italian champion. They take a rather circuitous route around the central reservation there. And he wanted to be in front. Lots of the riders in the Tour, when it goes near or their village or past it, they're normally allowed to go to the front. So we're now 25 kilometres to go with these 3 escapers on the front. They normally allow a rider to go down the front and meet his girlfriend, his wife, his parents, or what have you. And we went through Marosticcia this morning. Farazin was hanging on for grim death, trying to get off the front, and they were rocketing along there, thick end at 48 kilometres an hour. And so he had no chance at all, just under 30 miles an hour to get off the front. The race went straight through his village, and that was it. There was no flowers, no kisses, no congratulations for his parents. And there they went. After 2 kilometres, the chap who started all was Piccoli. He attacked, and after 4 kilometres, he was joined by Tauler, and he caught up with Piccoli. The gap was only about 18-20 seconds, and after 20 kilometres, they finally got caught up by the peloton. At 46 kilometres, Cipollini crashed, but not seriously. perhaps his wallet overbalanced him, I don't know. Anyway, Cipollini came a box of tricks after 46 kilometres, and he was able to get back on his bike and catch up. Not a day for Cipollini today, by the way. He'll just hang on for grim death to ride in with what they call the bus. That's the people at the back who try and keep out of harm's way. 26 seconds is the gap now, so the lead group are now possibly just getting themselves ready for what is going to be a stinkingly awful climb. Let's go back then to what's happened so far today, keeping one eye on the screen and one eye on the notes I've made during the day. And the second hour, the average speed for the 2 hours had then dropped to 40.9 kilometres. That's around about 25 miles an hour. So the second hour, you can work out from that, was extremely slow, probably well below 40 kilometres in that hour. And you just keep watching these nice racing sites in front. I'll pick up some of the numbers for you later on, but let's then give you this rundown that we had 125 kilometres of racing. The first sort of breakaway we got, in which we just seen those 3 chaps nip off down the road, when we had 7 riders go away, of which there are only 3 left now, hanging on for grim death. The Giro was 31 kilometres from the finish, and Piccoli got that one in those 7 riders, so there's no chance then of Bartoli. It looks like they're all going to be swallowed up here with this chasing group, the red leftovers from that breakaway group that we had to begin with. Piccoli got the Giro, so the slender lead that is established at the moment on the overall classification, where Andrea Noe of the ASICS team has just a gap of 6 seconds back to Michel Bartoli. Nothing changed in the Giro, where they had 6 seconds, 4 seconds and 2 seconds bonus. So at that particular point, that breakaway group had taken the time bonuses, and the big boys started to put the pressure on and to pull back the group you see in front. First 7 now down to 3, and we're setting the scene for you for the climb up here. By the way, Rebellion's fan club is out in force too. Further up the mountainside, you'll probably see them there with all the flags. A tremendous number of international people have turned out. Rebellion seems to have got lots of fans all over the place. They're going to be out there too. The Camazin fan club's out somewhere along the way too as well. And one good thing is we're bringing you pictures now, because earlier on it was going to be a possibility that we'd have to do it all sort of with photographs of yesterday's stage and then superimpose the commentary from today, or still pictures of riders. Why, you ask me? Well, we're not far from American Air Base, and this is the first time we finished up this mountain here at Pianacavallo, and the helicopter you see now picking the pictures up does 2 things. First of all, it will take the feed for this motorcycle now. When he's taking pictures of the riders here with his camera, it will actually be beamed up to the helicopter above. The helicopter can both take pictures and also pass on the pictures from the cameraman here. And then, as these Cantonero, Raimondi and Zanetti still get stuck into what they've got to do, they're not worried about the technicalities of how their sponsors get beamed far and wide. But so it goes from the motorcycle up to the helicopter you're seeing now. Now, the helicopter can sometimes be down below the mountain tops, and therefore he can't put the pictures onto the big scanner. So way up in the sky, there's a little airplane, a small airplane flying, circling all the time, and it is picking up the pictures from the helicopter, right, and then banging it onto the big scanner, the big TV dish, that picks it all up, and then that bounces it back out into the sky to a satellite. God knows how far up in the sky it is, and off that satellite it then gets out to you good people with us doing the commentary, because the pictures are being picked up by the monitors, and we do our chat, and so you back at home then get it back via the sky with all the voices going up as well. So it's a very complicated system, and the Americans didn't want the aircraft to fly through the airspace where they have the planes based. And the reason they're a bit particular about this is the area, or somewhere up in northern Italy, where you may remember when that American aircraft was going down one of the valleys, and it clipped one of the cable car cables and had that terrible crash when the cable car dropped out the sky. But it appears we're somewhere in the area where those planes fly, and that the Americans were not too happy about having a little plane circulating all the time while they might have been, flying their planes. So they originally said, no, you can't do it, but they've said, okay, now you can do it, and thank goodness for that. So we bring you pictures, all these little things. You see, it looks so simple, doesn't it? Riding a bike for 22 days, packing your bags, unpacking your bags, hotel to hotel, food to food, lots of people going around, but all the complicated things to pick up what you're doing on your bike is very involved indeed. And one of the I found most interesting things when I first started to work with Stephen Roche, who, as you know, won the Tour of Italy, the Tour of France and the World Champs all in one year in 1987, he was absolutely amazed, Stephen, because the riders are cocooned in this what you see here, the road going along, hemmed out on both sides by the spectators or the hedges, and they get to the start, they get to the finish, they go to the hotels, and they live this sort of life. They may sometimes, when they get back to hotels, see bits of it on television at the night, recording bits, but they never get exposed, they never see round about the start-finish area just what's going on, or understand how all this lot goes through the sky to all you people back at home. And so that when a rider retires and then goes there, and then he sees the masses of the press in the press office and all the cavalcade and all the vehicles that go with it, their eyes are open quite a bit. So they live a very, I suppose, a bit like nuns or monks in a monastery, aren't they? The outside world is something you don't have much chance to see much about. But there they are then, and that's what you're watching now. The gay, colourful sight of the Tour of Italy on Eurosport this Saturday afternoon. Thanks for your company, by the way, so far. We're getting to what I call the very critical and crucial part of the Tour of Italy, because today, with that mountain finish, it's the first. We've had a mountain finish a few days ago, but this is a real mountain. There we are, 20 kilometres to go, so they're about 6 kilometres from the start of a real gut-busting climb. If you're trying to find on your maps, I know some of you grab maps and try and follow the route. We've gone through some pretty little villages today, and it's not been all that easy to pick it out for you, but because we start also at Schio, which is no man's land really, not far from Grappa Bassana, where they have one of the big World Cup mountain bike races, but we set off from there, heading, now, if you've got your map in front of you, try and find Venice. You got Venice? Right, good. If you look, there's Venice, on the left-hand side there's Padova, and there's that great big bay with Trieste on the right-hand side where we're going to be for the time trial tomorrow. There's Malo Cipollini, by the way, on your screen at the moment. So we've got Venice on your map in the Gulf of Venice. Now, if you actually draw a line almost due north of Venice, and you can see a place called Belluno, and even if you go further north, a place called Cortina, where I assume they must have named the car after that. Well, don't go as far as Cortina. Go north of Venice for about 80 kilometres. That's about 50 miles. You get your real spot out. On the right-hand side, near Belluno, you see a bit of a lake, and then go further across from there, and you'll find, I hope, on your map, Pianacavallo. It's a bit in no man's land at the moment, and it's I'd say a bit right of Belluno, and if you can find Pordenone on your map, and then if you look sort of a bit left and up from there, if you sort of drew a line at what I call 11 o'clock from Pordenone, you'll eventually should get to Pianacavallo, and that's where they're going to be. And they're coming up through the road, which there's a great big main road goes up from Venice, one of these auto routes. We've actually crossed the auto route now. We're heading up from the auto route through Conigliano, and we're heading up now up towards the finish. So we've gone well past all that little lot, and now you know exactly where we are. I hope you found it. Good. Let's relax a bit and watch the racing. That Conigliano, we did find on your map, it's the centre of the, while waiting this lot to erupt, of the wine producing region, and also that painting you might have heard called Cima del Conigliano was also from this part of the world too, and so we've come through some delightful vineyards. The sun has come out now, but it's raining at the finish. It's not very nice at all. The weather is chucking it down because they've got a thumping great mountain to go up. They're going to finish 1,267 metres above sea level, and down where they are now, it's about 160 metres above sea level. So we've got the thick end of nearly 1,000 metres of climb. There, we can see up there, and the dark clouds, little do they know, gentlemen, but it's persisting down at the finish. So you better get your waterproofs, your wellies, your umbrellas out. It's going to be a bit damp, but it's getting worse too. What was originally just a little light fall is now getting worse and worse. And the band's been playing, because we're getting up towards the Alps and so on, almost like Tyrol type music. There's been dancing and bands playing and a great deal of fun going on, but I think somehow the rain is going to dampen the ardour of the mass of spectators as conditions get worse and worse. Right, now let's concentrate on some of the bike riders, bringing up to date what you see here at the moment. The Festina team begin to put the pressure on at the moment. ASICS CJ having done a lot of work to get to this particular point. I'll give you a rundown on the overall classification as it stands at the moment, and then you'll be able to see why the race is being set up the way it is. The Festina team are riding for Alex Zuller, who's third overall in general classification at 37 seconds, right? So they're doing a lot of the driving now. In the pink jersey, we've got the overall race leader, Andre Noe. He started this morning in the pink, and that fellow you see there in the purpley coloured jersey, that's Michel Bartoli of the ASICS CGA team. He was 6 seconds down his teammate this morning, so there's no reason for him to rock the boat and try and rip the legs off his teammate. You see the pink jersey is back from him now, almost in the centre of your screen. In fact, going left as I talk was the pink jersey of Andre Noe, who until this Tour of Italy this year hadn't got a sausage, hadn't got a darn thing at all. So he's now not only won a stage in the Tour, but he's also got the pink jersey as well, which he got very joyfully yesterday. Michel Bartoli has been hovering 5 to 6 seconds behind the pink jersey, but ever since we started out. Well, he's still there, but he's wearing the leader's jersey on the points competition. Alex Zuller then third overall at 37 seconds. Oscar Camazin from the Mapei Brickaby team did a damn good ride yesterday. He's now fourth at 37 seconds. Rubira from the Kelmic Costa Blanca Eurosport team is in fifth spot, 43 seconds down. Laurent Roux, who was originally the race leader, dropped to sixth yesterday. He came about a minute and a bit down on the winner, Bartoli, and he's now 49 seconds adrift in sixth spot. He had very tired legs yesterday, and I'll just talk about the finish yesterday in a moment whilst I'm giving you the rundowns. Giuseppe Guarini, who had a good finish yesterday for the Polsi team, 1 minute 15 seconds in rear, seventh. Eighth spot is Luc Leblanc for the Polsi team, 1:19 in arrears. Marco Pantani, who was really jumping around yesterday on the climb up until he fell off on the way down, is now ninth at 1 minute and 20 seconds. Pavel Tonkov is 10th. He's Victor 2 years ago at 1 minute 21. If I go down to find the Rebellion fan club, their man is in 13th spot at 1:45. Sergei Gonchar, now this is a chap you've got to watch out for. We've got a time trial tomorrow. Gonchar is one of the best time trials in the world. I mean, and actually Alex Zuller is an ex-world champion at time trialing. Gonchar is 2 minutes and 5 seconds down on general classification, so he could be in with a shout to move up the tomorrow. He's 15th spot at the moment. And last year's victor, Ivan Gotti, is 17th overall at 2 minutes and 16 seconds. One man I missed out there, by in 16th spot, Vladimir Belli of Festina Watches, 2 minutes and 6 seconds down. The first time I remember seeing that ride was in the Kellogg's Pro Tour, when he got the Best Young Rider award and won himself a Rover motor car. As we've now got 15 kilometres to go, we're now just getting on the just before the start, so it's 14 k's to go, and they're really about to start the climb. So Vladimir Belli going very well indeed. It's that young promise that we saw in the Kellogg's Pro Tour has now come out. We finished in Liverpool that year. I remember seeing him get into this Rover car, and he was absolutely flabbergasted with what he'd won. And well, he's in the race now, and you can see his promise is still there, lying 16th overall. That was the Kellogg's Pro Tour. The Pro Tour of Great Britain, the Prudential Tour, finishes tomorrow. If you're watching this programme back at home and you're in the London area and you've nothing to do tomorrow and you want to watch bike racing live, then you'll find that the Pro Tour is in Holborn tomorrow, right outside Prudential's headquarters, and they'll be riding around a circuit there, slap bang in the centre of London. And it could be well worth going down there because the festivities start quite early in the morning. We've got not only the Prudential riders in there, with Stuart O'Grady for Gann being the leader at the moment, but they've also got a ladies' race. Hello, Mr. Cipollini is either listening to music or talking to Mum or his wife. I've just spotted something on his shoulder. I think it might be a little two-way radio that he's got down there, but this is not Cipollini's day. We just had a quick pick-up of Pantani down there, the bald-headed gentleman himself. There he is. Neat, isn't it, to have a bald head? And I like the way too that the Mercato Nuno people have their names across the back of the race jersey. That's one of the Psycho boys who's going backwards like somebody just slammed his brakes on at the moment. So the Psycho Cannondale have been working hard here in the interests of Gotti. So Cipollini's doing a job on behalf of Gotti, really, because Gotti rides with Psycho Cannondale. He's 17th overall, so they've kept the pace up too, but Cipollini now will be going back. But you see the Psycho jersey, they're dropping back one by one at the moment. In fact, one of their riders yesterday took an almighty dive because Salvadelli was dropped from 18th to 38th yesterday. So now the race is really on. They're the Festina ride, ahead of Mapei. They're starting to work this one over. because their interests now are for Mappe and Festina. They've got Oscar Kamazin, Mappe have, and of course 2 years ago Pavel Tonkov and Mappe Brickaby was winners. So there's Oscar Kamazin in the red. There's a lot of people here fighting for the success today, which is really going to set the scene for the time trial. Giuseppe Guarini, you saw him come in yesterday in what was his second spot, Team Polti. He jumped up from 16th to 7th place overall, so the mountains can make quite a big change on the overall position, as we saw yesterday when Bartoli grabbed the victory and 12 seconds bonus ahead of Guarini of Polti and Bettini of Polo. And for the first time, I can't remember this, and we've been talking amongst ourselves since the race finished yesterday. Nobody's come up with the answer yet. I can't remember in a major Tour of Italy, Tour of France, the Tour of Spain, when one team had all three jerseys on three different riders. You see there, then the Ciclamino jersey number 21, then the 23 is a pink jersey of Ali. They're the green one, just went through on the right-hand side. That's all with the ASICS team. They've got the leaders jersey, they've got the points jersey, they've got the King of the Mountains jersey. The only one they haven't got is Intergiaro, which is a special little Italian thing anyway. But the three major jerseys in any big tour, one team has got the lot. I know in the past we've had people like Eddie Merckx have had all the jerseys himself, and we've had riders doing that quite a lot in the past, but this time one team, three different jerseys, three different riders. And so no wonder, I should think, I've mentioned it before, and those who perhaps haven't heard the jolly old commentaries and picked it up for the first time, the actual ASICS, where it comes from. It's from Anima, Sana in Corpore Sana, which is Latin for a healthy soul is a healthy body. And I think that says a lot about cycling, doesn't it? Healthy soul is a healthy body. Anima Sana in Corpore Sano, and very healthy at the moment. Top of the tree are the ASICS CGA team with those three jerseys, and they're going to defend them today. There we are, that's the King of the Mountains for you, just riding up here. But today it has to be somebody like Pantani to rip the thing to pieces. Gotti's got to do something as well to come back. Spare a thought too for Laurent Roux, the French rider who took the pink jersey day before yesterday. He was the 15th French rider to get it. He only had it for one day, as did Pascal Hervé in 1996, Amadou Cuevas in 1994, Thierry Marie had the jersey in 1992, and so on, back to the first of the French to get the pink jersey was Lucien Petit-Brecon in 1911, but Roux only kept it for one day. He's quite a good little climber, but he really took a bit of a pasting yesterday. But spare a thought for his teammates. We talk about what you see at the front is Tonkov's tracking after Bartoli on your screen now. And throughout yesterday, until they got that final climb of the day, the TVM team, which is much weakened, it lost three of its riders, including two of them, which were just 37 seconds outside the time limit when they got slung out by the judges. Yesterday, they drove themselves into a frazzle. As Pantani starts to move forward now, I should like to say, well done to the TVM riders, four of them, Van Bont, Anderson, Hoffman and Larsen, all came in 11.25 minutes down yesterday. They spent all the day driving hard on the front. So what we see at the front often is these domestiques riding for their teammates, and then they collapse in a big heap getting toward the finish, their job done. So a word of applause and thanks to all the domestics of cycle racing, the chaps who aren't on your screen when the hammer goes down, as you're seeing now, as the big boys start to come to the top. They're the pink jersey, knows what he's got to do. He's got his teammate there in the green jersey to help look after him. So ASICS CGA, but now they've got to really work hard because Pantani's putting the pressure on. Garzelli's on the front working. And you see the domestiques now for Buxtonino, trying to set it up for Pantani to be towed up this hill and really blast this race apart at the seams. Can he do it? We're going to a short break. Stay with us. Buxtonino still pressing on the front, and the big, long, lanky figure of Alex Zuller is just hovering behind them. He's watching Pantani just like a hawk waits to pounce on a little mouse. But really, Zuller is not at the same tempo when it comes to climbing. And look at Tonkov moving through powerfully to number 91 for Mappe. That was a good move. He just moved in front of Zuller to watch the wheel of Pantani. There, 21 on your screen. Bartoli. He's not going to try too hard, but I think Noe might find himself distanced today as the devil himself comes down and starts to encourage them. Talk about the devil, Claudio Chiappucci wasn't too far out yesterday on the stage finish. He was still looking good. I don't think he's got the power in his legs to cause havoc in the mountain any longer, but Claudio is looking for a stage victory. We're coming in toward the last week of the Tour of Italy, and we've got some really conky stuff ahead as far as these riders are concerned, because really the back end, one thing I like about the Tour of Italy, it gets worse towards the end, and rather than as like the Tour de France, because the Alps, the Pyrenees are such a long way away, it usually doesn't have quite the same effect, but this one is a real, what I was going to call a cliffhanger, really. Just looking down there, that's Pierpoli of the Psycho Canada. Ivan Gotti is also in that little group at the moment, but still the domestics for Mercatono driving hard on the front for Pantani. Pantani, not the world's greatest time trials. We've got the time trial tomorrow, and he really has to now try and close that gap down. He's 1 minute 20 seconds adrift of Andrea Noe, who I think could well lose his jersey today unless something remarkable happens. But what he's got to do is keep an eye on Alex Zuller, because Alex Zuller 37 seconds down. There's about, what's my arithmetic like at the moment? About 40 seconds separating this man Pantani from Zuller, who is a superb time trialist. And so this race, although it's, I think, a benefit for the mountain climbers to a large extent, rather than the Tour de France, which is not so mountainous. Oh, he's in trouble. He's being distanced now. Ivan Gotti's dropping back. That's not good. I know he fell a couple of times yesterday, but he said he's looking for the long climb today, but he's looking in trouble. Well, he's really beginning to struggle. This is not good for Gotti then. 17th overall, 2 minutes, and away goes Pantani. And Tonkov's gone with him. Zuller said, by the way, that after chasing down Pantani yesterday and then catching him and then falling off with him and diving into the ditch together and then rushing back on their bikes like rabbits escaping from the hunters, he said that Pantani accelerates, decelerates, accelerates, decelerates. Pantani's difficult to follow. When he attacks, Zuller's whole objective is to maintain his own personal rhythm. Now, Pantani's attacked now. Tonkov's going with him, but Zuller a bit behind now. He's just riding at his own speed. But is that speed good enough to come back? And the Tifosi here are absolutely going bananas. And further up the mountain, there's even more and more and more of the spectators, despite the damp conditions, waiting for him to arrive. Let's hope the rain eases off, though, and he may get a good run up there as he gets close to the finish. It's been sort of a bit cloudy, a bit mucky all day, and there he is now going up this climb. Zuller being tracked at the moment by the two riders from the Polti team, who are looking quite confident at the moment. That's a Guarini 141 and Luc Leblanc 146, and Pantani just going a bit away, and Konkov seems to have blown. This man is causing enormous damage today. Mercatonuno Bianchi by himself, and you can see then that on his knee here he's got some strapping from when he fell off yesterday. No major damage was done as he lost control. His front wheel went from underneath him. He's going down the mountain after the climb, not far from the finish. He fell down, got back up again, and he took Zuller with him as well. And Tonkov went past them yesterday and then eventually almost ran out of steam as well, so he took it easy. Zuller still then being tracked by Guarini, and Guarini really is a revelation at the moment. And that is Luc Leblanc, and here comes a pink jersey. Amazingly, that Andrea Noe is still hanging on there for grim death. That's a tremendously good ride as far as he's concerned. And just behind them, Clavero and Dominguez of the Vitello Seguros team have managed to stay with the pace, but Gotti's blown a gasket and gone backwards. We can't see Oscar Camazin either. He looks like he's in trouble. No sign at the moment of Ribera of the Calme team either. They're settling down here on this climb. This is the one that's really going to set the scene for tomorrow. And Pantani it is that's determined to get his stage victory today. The first time I did the Tour of Italy a few years ago now, must have been 6-7 years ago, for ESPN, the American network. We weren't covering for Eurosport in those days. The first time we were picking up for ESPN. And this fellow here, Pantani, just turned professional, and he just, in 2 days in the mountains, just before the finish in Milan, he came from nowhere to threaten everybody by 2 consecutive stage victories. When he came in so far ahead of everybody, he just leapfrogged right up, and everybody said, Pantani? Pantani who? Well, we all know now that Pantani is a gifted climber, and but for that terrible crash he had in October, what was it, nearly 2 years ago now, almost over 2 years ago, with 10 Ks to go, Pantani could have added more and more successes to his illustrious career. But you imagine when he broke his legs, both of his legs were broken badly, and they said some of them he wouldn't even be able to walk again, let alone ride a bike. And I remember seeing pictures of him and stories of him in a swimming pool, trying to just get some movement going into his legs. He had to put a special waterproof covering on his legs for the plasters so they could actually still get some exercise there. And his determination to get back and ride a bike that Pantani had to get back and be up at this sort of level of competition. There he is on the left-hand side of the screen. This man's got enormous guts, because many people like him would have said, I've broken my legs, there's no chance now, I'll retire and I'll become a commentator, or I'll become a writer, or a singer. He's not bad singing, he's not bad guitar player either. He loved performing in his local cafe. But no, he fought his way back, and now he's ripping the legs off this little lot here. Laurent Rouxin tracking after Yvon Gauthier last year, so Roux is coming back there. Look there on the little ring at the moment, around about 39 teeth on that one, and probably around about 23 on the back end. Still there's Guarini, who's been going very well indeed, and the fellow here from the Mercaton Uno squad that's just tracking on the wheels certainly won't do anything about trying to catch back with his teammates up there in front, because Pantani now is looking to grab a great lump of that time, just about 40-odd seconds that separates him from Zuller. 1 minute 20 seconds from Andre Arnault. We'll have to keep the countdown going on the watches, because it's a sort of climb, by the way, the one we've got today. It's so steep, so difficult that someone like Pantani could take the thick end of a minute and a half out of everybody else. And what I think Pantani would love to do is to get the pink jersey today, to go into time trial tomorrow, to be the last man off on the road. Psychologically, that would be a wonderful thing for him, because he's not the world's greatest time trials. He has been working in a wind tunnel during the winter, perfecting his position. They've also been working at Bianchi to try and get him back to Zuller, the time trial specialist. They've been working really to improve not only his position but his bike too. And now he's fighting back. It's amazing, isn't it, that when you get a rider in the leader's jersey in a big race who has never been in that position before, how he rides beyond himself. And that's what's happening here on your screen, that Andre Arnault is riding beyond the levels that one would normally expect him to do. Remember the same thing last year in the Tour of Switzerland when Angolotto took the race lead. Nobody expected it to happen, and he kept it right the way through to the end, because he got it almost by a gift early in the race, but after that he rode way above his normal level to keep it. As Pantani going on here, then look at that beautiful style. This, by the way, young lads out there, I think you're watching go up Pantani, and you look back at the gears the rest of them are riding. They're on pretty low gears, but Pantani always pedals softly on low gears. I know that time trialists now push enormous gears, but I'm a great believer in gearing down on the climbs, and I think Pantani's being a light, lithe little climber, can pedal a low gear and just make it spin round. Zuller goes through, then Guarini goes through. Zuller in the whitish coloured jersey with the blue shorts, Guarini in the red and yellow. Being chased now by Andre Arnault, who's really got a fight on his hands, this man. But the interesting thing is that Bartoli, who was only 6 seconds down on this morning, has now been distanced, and struggling to stay with it is Daniel Clavero of the Vitalicio team. So the thing is really splitting apart at the seams now. And this is the man, well, that was the man doing the damage. And you see how, let's have a look at his face, he's struggling. And look at the difference. You see how lithe it is, how Pantani's dancing on the pedals. It is hurting. It isn't as easy as he makes it look. He's really timing himself to perfection. Yes, look, again, nice motion, nice movement, Pantani. Back to Tonkov. Looks, he's pushing a bigger gear. Look, he's a much stronger bloke. Look at the size of his chest and his thighs. He's a much stronger man. And then further back, Zuller riding his own pace, having to get out of the saddle. Forcing the pace with Guarini on his wheel. Guarini's not going to come by at the moment. Personal battles all the way down this mountain. Well, there's only about half a minute at the moment, according to my quick check, between, might be 35 seconds between Pantani now and the leader's jersey, Andrea No. Just a short time check on that. We're not getting many time checks coming in, but that does appear to be the position, that he's got half a minute up on the pink jersey with about those 4 or 5 other riders locked in between him. So he's got to go a bit further forward if he's going to take the pink jersey. It probably isn't quite difficult enough for him to blast a couple of minutes out of people, but you never know towards the end. People can die 1,000 deaths. Suddenly your legs stop and you're really in all sorts of troubles. And still Pantani doing the damage on the way up towards the top of this climb. We've had so many different victors of the stages. On day one, Zulla got the pink jersey when he won the Prague time trial. Then Piccoli got the stage into Cuneo. Then Ado took a stage. Then Minardi. Then Michelli. Then Cipollini took the first of his 4 stages. Zulla came back with a bang at Lago Lanceno when we came up a climb there to take back the pink jersey. Then Magnussen won. Then we had Noe, Rux Bartoli. So many changes overall. We've had Zulla in the pink jersey, Gonchar in pink, Bartoli in pink, Rux in pink, Noe in pink. Are we going to see a change today? Why in the pink, you might ask? Well, I said it earlier on, but if you're on Saturday afternoon watching it for the first time on Eurosport, it's because Gazzetta dello Sport, who first founded this race when it first started way back in 1909, they print their magazine, their newspaper, sorry, they print the newspaper on pink paper. It looks, if you went into news agents in Italy and you bought a pink paper, I think it was the Financial Times, you get it wrong. It is the Gazzetta dello Sport, and that's why the leader wears a pink jersey, not a yellow one, which is the Tour de France, because they used to print their newspaper on yellow paper. 20 seconds then, and about 10 back from Tonkov to the other riders behind him. Pantani to the pink jersey, 36 seconds, so my time check was about right then on the stage 14 of the race from Chio to Pincavallo. I'm sure somebody else will be watching this race with bated breath today, because yesterday we had Annalisa Casatelli come to the finish with her little boy Marco Casatelli, a name which will be greatly remembered by many cyclists, because Fabio Casatelli was the Olympic champion in 1992, and he was had that terrible accident in the Tour de France in 1995, where she turned up with the little boy and was greatly welcomed by so many of the supporters of cycle racing. Jim Okovic is also on the tour, by the way. He was the man who was the head of the director sportif of the Motorola team when the Motorola rider Fabio Casatelli crashed in the Tour de France. He's also on the tour. He's looking out. He's working with possible sponsors and riders to build the team up and to start in next year with the team. But he was also there as well. So great emotional occasion yesterday. The emotion here is running high as Pantani is doing what the Italians absolutely love, to have an Italian knocking the hell out of somebody else. Well, look how long it was a couple of days ago when Laurent Rux got the pink jersey. He said, there are not many Frenchmen here, he said, but we've got not many numbers in depth, but we've got quality of those of us who are here. And so it was that Rux got that jersey, the pink jersey. But right now it's a battle between this man, the Swiss rider, the Swiss-German speaking rider on a French bicycle, by the way, working for a Spanish watch manufacturing company. So it really is a mixed bag of nations, isn't it? Back then to a Russian Tonkov riding for Mape, which is a chemical adhesive company and cement manufacturer in Italy, and Brickaby, who are a do-it-yourself store group in Belgium, and he's riding a Colnago bike made in Italy. Back then to Festina, right, then back to Polti, who make steam cleaners, irons and that sort of thing, and they're riding on Copy bicycles. Oh, I haven't mentioned the name Copy Avo for at least 2 days. As now for the ASICS CGA team going up. ASICS, of course, a big sports clothing manufacturers, and they're on their way up to the top now, trying to chase down this man. A brilliant ride then by the pink jersey, still low, around about 40 seconds down, and Marco Pantani, there you see him, 1 minute 20 seconds adrift on general classification. He's got to go some to get the pink jersey, but most of all he wants to stamp his authority in the mountains, because there's so many big climbs yet to come in this race that Pantani could in the mountains do a lot of damage to people who can't stay on his wheel. Quick change of the gears, Houtman has had a little flick, and again he's on the inside ring. He won't change that one now all the way up. The big ring is not for a climb like this one. Tonkov is really striving and fighting hard to stay with him. Amazing rider Tonkov, he does next to nothing. I know that people have been In the past, because the Tour de France gets so much publicity that people were saying, oh, Indurain is only a machine that rides the Tour of Italy and does not, Tour de France and does nothing else. So he didn't win the Tour of Italy, of course, Indurain, and didn't ride his home Tour of Spain. He set his objective on doing one thing throughout the season, that was that. But Tonkov is another specialist who virtually does nothing except ride the Tour of Italy and always manages to find himself there either on the podium or not far off it as well. So we're seeing the specialists, these people who, when we've been covering the single-day races on Eurosport, the big classics at the start of the season, we get a certain sort of rider. And amazingly, Bartoli, who's got the Ciclamino jersey, is leading on the World Cup. And we don't often see when we come to the big tours the single-day riders performing at that sort of level, because normally the tour riders are something entirely different. And to be able to have the stamina to ride, as we look back there and saw Camazin's been really dropped off the back. Well, he was fourth this morning, but I think he's going to slip down the general classification if he's not careful. These chaps have the ability to ride the whole of their careers just having one ambition, that's to do well in the big races, the 3-day tours, or in fact Tonkov also winner of the Tour of Switzerland, which is what, about a 12-day tour. No, perhaps a bit less than that. Yes, perhaps about 10-day tour, that's right, which we're going to cover, by the way, on Eurosport, so I want to get the days right so I know when I'm working. But there's these people who do these events. There's something unique about their makeup, their physical ability, their mental ability. I mean, how many sports do you know where the competitors are asked to perform day in, day out for 3 weeks without a break? Now, we have one day off in the Tour de France. As now the gap's coming back as Tonkov's closing it. We have a day's rest there. But this race, no rest. Day in, day out, they're there, averaging over 100 miles a day, averaging over 25 miles an hour. I don't know another sport that does it. And to think they can concentrate their season around riding at this sort of level. And some of them will ride the Tour of France and the Tour of Italy, or the Tour of France and the Tour of Spain, or as Lejarreta used to do, he'd ride all 3. Amazing. And further back, let's not forget, I said before, the domestiques. Those lads down the road now will be struggling to stay inside the time limit. We could find today, when they press the clock, that 1 or 2 of them, very tired from the work they've done so far in this race, will be shelled out the back. The average speed so far of this race, we've covered now 2,519 kilometres of the race, and the average speed is 40.241 kilometres per hour. 40 kilometres per hour is 25 miles an hour, and 2,500 kilometres have been covered so far. That's over 1,600 miles since we started out at an average speed of 20 miles an hour, day in, day out. If this is going out in some pubs on a Saturday afternoon, with the lads with a few sherbets inside, they think, oh, bloody hell. Well, you're right, it is amazing. The concentration, the determination. Each man fighting his own personal battle against his physical ability and against the other people. The noise of the helicopters, the roar of the motor pipes, the crowd cheering around about you. You're on your own private stage. And there's nowhere to hide. Can you feel it? You can see it. Riding at 99.5%. You just have to have the ability not to go over the top, not to boil up too soon. If you just go a little bit too hard, then wham, you can suddenly find yourself going backwards as fast as you've gone forward. So it's still delicately balanced as Pantani now summoning up that little bit extra energy. knowing him, he's probably kept a little bit in reserve to have another go to frighten a few people. There are one or two false flats on this climb, and Pantani will try and make the most of it still to keep himself distance from Tonkov, distance from Zuller, and distance from Garine as these top 4 men fight for the victory today. Stage 14 of the Tour of Italy, from Giro to Pianecavallo. They're on the final climb of the day, this tough mountain. Pantani 10 seconds lead over Pavel Tonkov, the winner of the Tour of Italy a couple of years ago, and he finished second last year, did Tonkov. And now Pantani fighting his own battle to try and win the stage and get further away from the pink jersey, who this morning started out with a gap of 1 minute and 20 seconds on Pantani. He's got 5 kilometres to go. The last time check we had, it was about 40 seconds back to the pink jersey, so it could be that Andrea No will keep that jersey, but Bartoli, who started in second spot this morning, has been dropped by Andrea No. The last time we saw him, he was struggling very much indeed. Pavel Tonkov this morning started 10th overall at 1 minute and 21 seconds down, and he was just behind Pantani by 1 second, so he's losing time now. And there's also, at the end of the stage, 12 seconds bonus for first, then 8 and then 4. Unlike the Tour de France, where they don't have bonuses up in the mountains, they still have them in Italy, and so there's still a lot at stake. Then Zuller goes under there, 27 seconds adrift. So they're closing the gap down, because at one time Pantani was over half a minute ahead of bit like Zuller, so he's beginning to slow a little bit now. Perhaps he might have gone a bit too quickly. It's great, that international event then, with an Italian on the front, followed by a Russian, then one from Switzerland behind them. And there, the murky conditions, the rain having eased off a little bit now, which is just as well, because we had enough trouble with the rain yesterday, with it like a skating rink. It was more like Torval and Dean than bicycle racing, when they were skidding and sliding all over the place. But conditions not too bad, because the oxygen's good when it's a bit damp like it is today, and they need plenty to suck in as this international gang of bike riders. 146 of them started this morning. I use the word international, by the way, because Eurosport, as you know, reaches some 73 million homes all over Europe, and I've had some letters from Miss Lenya Uljamark in Finland. I'll try and reply to that when we get a few moments to have a gap to talk to you. To Katrina Thala, one's come in from Slovenia, from her, and also earlier on this year, I brought it with me, I've actually replied to, but it came from Mohamed Mousrani in Tanger, Morocco, which just shows Eurosport reaches far and wide. And a lot of people listening to the English coverage, and I hope you, like me, are absolutely fascinated by this race we've got on the screen. And we're going all the way through for the first time on Eurosport, covering every stage of the Giro d'Italia. And of course, a lot of other sport too on live on Eurosport you're getting over these weeks, and we're building up to the great big World Cup as well. And of course, during the World Cup there will be other sports than football, though with all the games, got all 64 on Eurosport, with about 12 hours of football every day. There will be people who are non-football supporters looking for something else, but we'll be on air, because we're going to be covering the Tour of Switzerland and bringing you action from that race, which is really the platform for the big Tour de France that follows. But right now, the second biggest tour in the world, the Tour of Italy, on your screen with Pantani. Looks like he could well go ahead and get that victory today, but will he be able to do enough to get closer and closer to the pink jersey? I'm sure the pink jersey will be working hard now. We haven't got a time check back to the pink jersey. It could be, when he comes up here, that whilst he will certainly have improved himself on overall classification, the one who'll benefit most of all is going to be Alex Zuller, who started this morning 37 seconds down. So time check back from this man to the ASICS CJ rider Andrea Noe is going to be most important, and Michel Bartoli, who was at 6 seconds. So Bartoli was 31 seconds adrift of Zuller. Zuller's riding into third spot at the moment, which will give him 4 seconds bonus. So Zuller's concentrated, kept his cool, hasn't gone bananas to pull Pantani back, nor has Tonkov. They're riding their own little private time trial at this mountain here to see if they can just get closer to Pantani towards the end, and I somehow think he's beginning to struggle. So there, Zuller can see Pantani, can see Tonkov. Tonkov can see Pantani, so they may come back here. There's a brilliant ride by Alex Zuller. A real lesson, I think, in controlled aggression. He didn't jump around, he just settled himself in, and very carefully making sure he wasn't going over the top. And going over the top, I'm having a quick look at the profile and remembering what this road is like up here. It does flatten out a little bit. You can see it now flattening out here. Then it starts to go. It goes from 4.8. Then it goes back up to 7.8%. Then 6.3 and 3.3. It gets a bit flatter toward the top. So it's not too bad now. The worst part you can see is over, and also the rain, thank goodness, has eased off. It was a bit murky and a bit wet before, but it's going to be a very useful finish here for Pantani. I'm thinking, unless something terrible happens, he's going to get the victory here. There's a crowd urging him on all the way up. So inside those final 4 kilometres now, Pantani, there you go. Well, this, you see, if you actually get a push behind, then he can get fined and docked time by the judge, but I don't think that would count for a push. It will count for a pat on the back. One, you remember that actually Merckx, somebody did that with a punch, with a fist, and punched him just on the back, and it caused him enormous pain. If you imagine you're breathing heavily and something went bam like that, looking like he was pushing him. He didn't. He punched him, and it was nasty, that was. But and of course, when Stephen Roche was winning the Tour of Italy in 1987, when the great Italian hope, I think his name was Vincenti, was being in the same teams actually, but Vincenti wasn't on form, and Stephen Roche actually took over the leader's jersey, and he had to be defended virtually. Stephen did on the climbs. Robert Miller was one of those riders that rode on one side of him, and another of his teammates rode on the other side, and Stephen actually had to have people on either side until it was settled down that Stephen was winning the race on merit, and that he deserved to be the victor. He had to withstand the hisses and spits of the Italians. Well, he rode for the same team as the Italian hope. They didn't like it at all, and so he had to have these sort of bodyguards riding on either side of him. Now, this doesn't normally happen anywhere else in the world, but the Italians, as you know, whatever sport it is, are very nationalistic. Nothing against that. I love their enthusiasm, but they can sometimes get a little bit over the top in circumstances like that. But right now I think there's no problem here, because Pantani, beloved by so many Italians who've got something that's either 15 or 18 professional racing teams. It is the sport in Italy, and Pantani here is really showing that the guts and ability. I'm looking back now at when he took off. He looked round his shoulders to see who else was with him. His 2 teammates had done a wonderful job keeping the pace up. It was Tonkov that could see the problem, went round the other Mercatonuna Bianchi rider to go after Pantani, and that was way down this 14-kilometre climb, probably no more than about 3-4 kilometres from the top. So Pantani would have done about 10 kilometres on his own at the front. Now Tonkov's being caught by Zulla. Guerini doing nothing but sit, and there Pantani's slowing. There's no doubt about it. There was a gap at one time of around about 30 seconds back to Zulla when the attack first came off, but Zulla now riding comfortably with Tonkov. Guerini's just sitting on the wheel. Well, Guerini has done nothing to aid this job at all, which I think is a bit naughty of him, just to sit there. And yesterday he finished second, Guerini did, on the classification yesterday, and is now moving himself up into 7th overall. So Guerini benefited yesterday by his performance. In fact, he jumped up from 16th to 7th yesterday, and looks like Guerini might be going further up the general classification. That's the man in the red and yellow colours for the Polti team. Back with Zulla. Tonkov, Guerini, and they might yet catch Pantani. Sorry about the problems. These things do happen when we're bringing you the action from up there in the mountains. It's not always the technology breaks down, but we had a little problem there, but we're back again with Pantani now. I think he's getting his breath back. He's looking a bit more lively now. He might have gone just a bit too far into his overburn situation. He's now beginning to get his breath back and recover and start to ease himself away. Well, the big gaggle of photographers waiting at the end to take the pictures of these riders. They have a competition, as we're losing the picture, I might as well talk to you about it, back up here with Tonkov in slow motion, in the Gazzetta dello Sport, the big sporting newspaper, each day, when they have, somebody takes a picture and it's pictured in there. It's a sort of photographers type competition. We had one the other day of the finish where we had looked like a circus coming along. There was people with stilts and waving flags, and there were jugglers and fire eaters, and there were even one person riding a unicycle. I don't know whether they're sponsored by Pashley's up there in Stratford-on-Avon, where they make unicycles still, believe it or not, but certainly that was one of the competitions. And if we go back to Pantani now, with the other photographers lined up at the moment, they actually had their photographs taken yesterday, and in today's Gazzetta dello Sport there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the photographers, which I recognise at least 3 of them, including the shiny dome of Graham Watson, one of the top photographers of cycling in the world, and not quite as bald as Pantani here, because Pantani shaves the rest of his hair to give himself that rather unusual hairstyle. Well, Graham, sorry, Tassel, there he is, but Graham is holding a big display of his photographs in Dublin in the few days leading up to the Tour of Italy. I've forgotten where the address is now, but I'll try and find out for you. I mentioned it during my other programme, but if you're over there in Dublin before the Tour of Italy, Tour de France, I'll try and mention where the exhibition is, because Graham's work is on display at some of the photographic centres, and he'll be standing there at the finish line now, waiting to get a picture of this one with Pantani. Certainly got a romp in here and get his stage victory. I thought he was going to blow a gasket and be caught by those chasers, but he should be able to keep the thing going now in towards the finish. You see, it's getting so close. He's got to go round. Not a very easy finish. It's a bit tricky going into here. As they go through the last kilometre, they can go to the left-hand turn round a little island, then round another right-hand bend into the Malo del Pupa Plazio, and so Pantani should be able to make it quite comfortably now, because he's going to get out of sight, out of mind. This is where they're going around the lefts and rights, and now it will shortly going into that left-hand bend, and then a nice run in toward the finish. Now he's got it now, there's no doubt about it, that Pantani, who took that brilliant stage victory in the Alpe d'Huez the other year in the Tour of France, is now on his way here to get this stage victory. Well-deserved one too, I think, but the question is where the stopwatch is going. Not so much what the difference between Pantani and Noe, but what would the difference between Alex Zuller be and Andre Noe in the pink jersey. So we've got lots of calculations yet to do as the pirate himself here starts to storm in for yet another significant victory in the Tour of Italy. And because we've got so many big climbs yet to come, I'm sure this man could be a great threat overall. The big thing is, what will he do in the time trial tomorrow, as Pantani riding in now takes the victory then after 4 hours and 22 minutes of racing on this stage 14 of the Tour of Italy, from Giro to Pinacavallo and back then to Zuller and Tonkov. And as they go across the line there, the big question is now how much gap will be between Zuller, Bartoli and Andrea No. As the clock is on your right hand side of your screen, and the photographers I mentioned before are rushing to get their pictures. Guarini coming in now. So Guarini was at 29 seconds behind Pantani. Bated breath waiting for the arrival of the pink jersey. The count back then, Zuller in third spot will have got himself 4 seconds extra bonus, so it's going to be 33 seconds, and it's gone past it now. So Zuller, in fact, is ahead of Noe on the general classification. He's ahead of Bartoli, so Zuller will go back into the pink jersey by virtue of that performance. Tonkov and Pantani were 9th and 10th this morning. Well, Pantani 1 second ahead, and here comes the pink jersey. And he's already now coming up 59, 1 minute adrift of Zuller. My clock is running on Zuller, not on your screen there, because that's back to Pantani. And Zuller, the man who started this morning, 37 seconds adrift, is certainly going to move into the pink jersey. And a great defence. We're looking at Zuller now, who's certainly taken the pink jersey, so he'll start last in the time trial tomorrow. He rode a very well calculated ride in to the finish, so that's it as far as Zuller's concerned, in the pink for the time trial tomorrow. He'll be very pleased with that one, but a very disappointed Andre No. But on the other hand, he never expected when he came into this race that he would be there. He's 1:37 down, so he's lost a complete minute on Zuller today, and so he's going to be dropping down. And here they come then, the big gaggle of riders thundering on in here. 7 of them have just finished together, but I didn't see the pink jersey of Michel Bartoli in that one as they came through. We're trying to do several things here. Keep an eye on those who are finishing. listen to the producer, get the stopwatches going, because the screen, we're looking at different things as well, Rebellin's in that little group at the moment, coming in here, and I think Luc Leblanc, is he there too, as we started to get some, yes, Luc Leblanc is on the front of this one, David Rebellin is there too as well, but no sign of the, I think Gott is in that group too as well. That's a turn up for the books, because he's going to lose something in the order of 2 minutes and 40 seconds, maybe longer than that, on Zuller. So that's 2:45 back to this little group. This has really been sorted out today, and the gaps are going to be quite significant for the time trial tomorrow. And so Zuller, I think, can look forward to his time trial as... Oh, there he is. He's just finished now. 3 minutes and 8 seconds down then for Bartoli. So that's on Zuller I was looking for, because he started half minute ahead of Zuller. So in fact he's now 2.5 minutes adrift in rough round figures to Zuller on the general classification. So the performance then of Zuller today, to watch this man Pantani keep cool, just right up there. His big thing was that behind him he'd opened up an enormous gap on the pink jersey and the second place man Michel Bartoli, so by at least 2.5 minutes he's ahead of Michel Bartoli, and Andre Arnaud is a good minute adrift. But Pantani here will have certainly moved up the general classification, because he came in again about a minute and a half, no, maybe 3 minutes ahead of Luc Leblanc, who this morning was just a second ahead of him. Guarini will have moved forward, Pantani will have moved forward, Tonka will have moved forward, Kamazin will have dropped down a bit, Ribeiro dropped down, Rooks has dropped down, so we're going to see quite a change on the classification going into the race tomorrow. There we are. General classification, as I told you, there was Zuller, Pantani, Tonkov, Guarini, and no. What a change we got there. Pantani really had a go today to try and get that pink jersey. He wasn't going to make it though. He got those useful 12 seconds bonus to keep him what he thought was in contention for the pink, but he didn't get this man Zuller. Absolutely timed it to perfection, riding in with Tonkov. Tonkov taking 8 seconds bonus, Zuller taking 4 seconds bonus, and the gap then only just sufficient for Zuller to take the jersey ahead of Pantani. The next question, of course, is back from here, how many of the riders are going to find themselves outside the time limit, because the clocks will be running and there'll be percentage imposed upon the riders, and some might find themselves being eliminated. All of that in the last 14 kilometres of the race we've seen today on Eurosport. Now that's your general classification again, repeated for you on the screen. And Zuller, well, he's certainly able, I think, to do a good time trial tomorrow, but Tonkov is no slouch when it comes to time trialling either, and so there could be a nice little battle for that tomorrow. We're going to be covering it on Eurosport. I'm sure they put a flash up for you later on to tell you when it is, but the time trial tomorrow down is in Trieste, where I spent, well, just down the bay from Trieste, 6 months in the army, around from Muggia, where we had our barracks sticking out in a little promontory at what used to be I think it was a monastery or something. We were there as Pantani takes the champagne for his stage victory today. He'd be very happy to have moved into second spot. He would have liked the pink jersey. He was so close to getting. He seemed to slow down towards the top end of the event, though. So Marco Pantani now third in the Tour 94, third 97 of the Tour de France. Good afternoon to you, and our camera's picking up here the rider out on the course on this, the time trial stage of the Tour of Italy. It's Lanfranchi of the Mappe Bricoby team, and as in always with the big tours, the reverse order of the general classification applies when they set up on the time trial. This one today in Trieste, it starts down in the town centre and heads off in a generally northeasterly direction for some 20 odd k's, and turns and comes back again into Trieste. It's an out and home course, very much beloved, I suppose, by British time trials. And look at this man here ploughing along on his Pinarello bike, because this is a man who's probably likely to topple Zula's chances to take the stage today. This is Serdar Gonchar, who surprised a lot of people last year on stage 8 in the Tour of Italy, when in the time trial there over 40 kilometres, exactly the same distance as we've got today. He covered it in 47 minutes and 18 seconds. That's 25 miles in 47 minutes 18 seconds, an average speed of 50.740 kilometres per hour, and they really burst upon the scene then to show his strength. And he went on at the end of the season in the World Championships to surprise everybody by his superb performance there in the World. So there's no doubt about it that Gonchar, looking at Bartoli in the pink jersey, is the one that Zula's already said is possibly the man that could win the time trial today, and it's going to be a battle between the two of them. In the prologue time trial on day 1, Gonchar and Zula were separated by just 1 single second, with Zula getting it and get the pink jersey. Looking at Bartoli now at the moment, well, he's no slouch when it comes to time trialling. Earlier on this year, in the 3 days of Japan, he finished second behind Britain's David Miller. That was a shorter little one than he's going to ride today. 40 Ks it is. The man in the Ciclamino jersey now gets ready to go. The leader overall on the World Cup at the moment came into the Tour of Italy with the ambition to take over the pink jersey as race leader. And as we're looking now at Marco Velo going through the time check here, they keep buzzing backwards and forwards, so if I'm talking about something and someone comes up on your screen, will you please forgive me? We have no control over the way the producer presses the buttons, but he's now showing Marco Velo fourth there at the time check, 27:31.86. So that's what will happen all the way through as on time trials, but we're now getting to see Bartoli go off underway down the start ramp here. He took the pink jersey into the stage, into Frascati, and then he lost it and took over he kept the Ciclamino jersey, which he's had right the way through since the stage on the 21st of May. And there he goes then, Bartoli, now much more resplendent with his Porsche 996 that his wife bought for him for his birthday. That's a jolly nice present, wasn't it? We're back out with Falazin, who tried to get a stage victory yesterday into his home, well, not stage victory, but to lead the stage through his home village. His parents turned out to watch him, but unfortunately the speed was phenomenally quick. They did some 48 kilometres in the first hour, and poor Falazin didn't get off the front to say hello to his parents. That's the way it went yesterday. And as we're looking at some of these riders out on the course, Andre Noe will be the next to go in the start house, back here with Gonchar. They're going to track him all the way through, by the way, because he's not the most stylish of riders, he's not the most relaxed, but he's pushing a thumping great gear. I've got to go back in my memory. It was something ridiculous like 54/11 that he rode the prologue time trial, which is something in the region of about 126 inches in English language. And you look at him here, he's not by any means your stylish time trialist, and I wouldn't suggest anybody should try and copy him, though I do see people fighting and pushing and shoveling. Sap the strength as we look at Zula taking out Pantani. For Pantani, now 3 minutes adrift on the road. Bit of a moment of disappointment for him as Zula stormed past him on his way in towards the finish. The finish time of Guerini was not good at 48:02. Tonkov now fighting to come in here. He's been looking strong, he's been going well, and Tonkov could be up there in a top 3 place. The time to beat then is 45:31 for Gonchar, and Dominguez 46:37 or 46:51 for Boscadin. That's first, second and third. Is Tonkov going to make it? He took over the pink jersey last year on the time trial stage of 18 kilometres into San Marino, and now he's going to battle in here and try and topple the second place man, and at 46:009 he's done it. Well, that's a superb ride, because Gonchar's 45:31 and his was 46:00, so just some 29 seconds separating Pavel Tonkov. But the biggest news, as far as he's concerned, he's punched 2 minutes out of Guerini, who started this morning on his 17 seconds behind him. And with Pantani struggling, it looks at the moment like Tonkov could well move up into second place overall on general classification. And I rather think that Michel Bartoli is likely to move himself up to possibly into third. Bartoli was nearly a minute and a half faster than Guerini, for instance, certainly faster than Andre Noe, his teammate, and we might find quite a shuffling of the pack, with Zula could come out to be the leader, well, still keep the pink jersey, and might find Tonkov in second spot, and Bartoli moving back up there into third. So quite a bit of shuffling of the pack going on this time trial. But I was saying earlier, the big mountains have yet to come. And the key stage will be stage 19 from Cavallese to Plan di Montecapione, when we've got no less than 5 climbs. And we finish up the top of the Plan di Montecapione, 1,700 metres above, 750 metres above sea level, having gone over before that, after 182 kilometres, the Colletto di Cardioni, and that's 1,943 metres above sea level. So you can see on your screen there the position at the moment. Tonkov just a little bit behind Dominguez. Well, Dominguez was 3 minutes 50 down on general classification. Tonkov just 40 seconds. So Dominguez will possibly move up a little bit on the general class, but he's not going to leap too far up the list at the moment. Probably into about, quick look here, maybe 6th or 7th spot. But Pantani struggling to stay. He's got to drift down a little bit. I think he might find himself dropping back into about 5th or 6th at this rate of knots, maybe a bit further back than that. But his day will come in the mountains, because we have got some tremendous mountains yet to come as we zigzag our way across the Dolomites and over the Alps and up into Switzerland and then back down into finish in Milan. On the last day that we go into Milan, there's going to be a big ride, rather like they have on the Tour de France when they choose one stage. I know a lot of Brits went off and rode that stage last year. Well, there is another one this year on the final Sunday. They're going to ride down thousands of cyclists ahead of the race into Milan and just emulate, as they hope they'd emulate, the top people in the Tour of Italy, which will follow on behind them. But as far as this man's concerned, he was drafted into the Festina team because they wanted to have some success in the Tour of Italy, and that time there, 45:31, is the one he's got to beat to take the stage today. He's been hovering there or thereabouts, because at the top turn after 21 kilometres, Alex Zülle 25.50 to Gonchar's 26.27, so he's marginally ahead. If he can keep it on the way back, he could take the stage victory, but certainly at this rate of knots, he's going to keep the pink jersey. Marco Pantani, his nearest competitor, can't do anything about it. You see that Tonkov there, 29 seconds slower than Gonchar at the finish. Well, man on your screen now, Zülle, was a fractionally faster at the 22 kilometre point, so if Zülle can come back at the same rate of knots, then he should be able to pull himself further away than Pavel Tonkov, who was at 40 seconds from him at the start of the thing. Bilbao, the sponsor, that particular 1 kilometre to go now. If you ever get a chance to read the Gazzetta dello Sport, they've got a picture of a young lady advertising Bilbao, and it's rather yes, she should be on page 3 in the tabloids. Now then, let's see what's going to happen as he thunders on in here, having got Pavel Tonkov's time 46.009 as the best of the people challenging for the jersey, because Gonchar with 45.31 is the time to beat for Alex Zülle now. Really ploughing along here, this brilliant time trialist, past world champion when riding against the watch, is now trying desperately to not only win the stage, he's certainly going to keep that pink jersey, but he has to punch as much time as he can do between himself and the mountain climbing specialists such as Pantani. Psychologically, having caught Pantani, it's lifted up his ambitions to take that pink jersey all the way into Milan on Sunday week. A week today then, it's 45.31, he's dropped the time on the way back. I thought, oh, so 45.34, he's going to do it. He's going to do it, certainly. Yes, he is. I thought he lost the time on the way back. No! 45.38, he has lost it. Yes, he did. I thought he was going, I said, didn't know on the way back that he might slow, and he's not won the time trial. 45.38, as the figures clashed there for a moment and went from one to another. It fooled me, but certainly it looked, and then it was confirmed that in fact he lost it by 7 seconds, and Pantani comes in at 48.04, almost a forlorn figure in the midst of the jubilations for the Gonchar camp. But certainly then Pantani, another 3 and a bit minutes he's gone back, and so Gonchar has won that time trial. He surprised everybody by his victory last year when he snatched the time trial on stage 8. He's done it yet again. Gonchar the victor today. Town of Trieste. There is your time scale up on the board there. 7.12 for Zülle. Tonkov back at 29. Dominguez nicely placed in 4th spot. Bartoli, a good ride there, will certainly put him up on the general classification. So I think tonight the GC will well stand with Zülle first, Tonkov second, and Bartoli moving into 3rd spot. Through this nice part of the world where all the wonderful Venetian wines come through. You know, the the Valpolicellas coming from this part of the world. And there we are, as we're looking now at the correction on your screen. Yes, 44.38. It has been corrected then, 44.38, not 45.38. So they've made a mistake. They flicked the camera. It went back. It went to 44, went to 45, went to 46. And now they've confirmed that, in fact, Zuller has won. So he keeps the pink jersey, gets his stage success. And Zuller then now will be very, very pleased indeed to get that one. A man, I say, is a superb time trialist, and looking ahead to the Tour of France then, Zuller must be in with a shout to get it at the end, because the time trials are going to be very important indeed. Arrivederci, and over to the Roland Garros. Bye-bye. Well, good afternoon to you all, and today we've got right interesting stage for you. In fact, you're looking at the virtual new leader on the road. Now, put the camera back a bit, the fellow at the bottom there, because right now Bettini, some 15 minutes and 32 seconds ahead of the pink jersey, together with Ochoa of the Kelme Costa Blanca Eurosport team. These two riders, 15 minutes and 32 seconds ahead of the pink jersey, means that Bettini is virtually the overall race leader. So yet another success for the ASICS CGA. I rather think by the time we get to the end of the stage, it will not be like that. In 32nd spot, Bettini start this morning, 15 minutes and 27 seconds in arrears from the overall race leader, wearing the pink jersey, Alex Zuller, following that tremendous time trial yesterday in Trieste. The sun is beating down, as you can see here. We're running a little bit on a slower schedule. We should be able to finish round about 5:15 Central European time. Might be slightly later than that. I'm just not quite certain how about they'll go from now on in. I've come over the big climb of the day. There you see Maglia Rosa Virtuelle for Bettini. And I don't think it'll stay that way, because towards the end they're going to start putting the pressure on, and the average speed at the moment is only around about 37 kilometres per hour. The first hour we only covered some 35 kilometres in the first hour, and then they accelerated, covering 47 kilometres in the second hour. It was sort of a very quick spurt along the flat part. But we come up the climb of the day, the King of the Mountains climb, which the riders went over the top with Bettini first on the King of the Mountains competition, taking the lead just ahead of Ochoa. They had a lead at that particular point of some 40 seconds over about 90 men chasing after them, and then it's nearly a quarter of an hour back was the main pack. Bettini and Ochoa went on and persisted with their attempts to stay away from what had previously been some 24, 25 men away. Looking at them there on your screen, the original breakaway group. They stayed ahead because after the King of the Mountains, which went up at a place called Tortima, 745 metres above sea level, after a climb of something like 14 kilometres, they persisted with their attack and went further away, and by the time they got to Luciana, just about 8 kilometres down the road, they punched another 10 seconds out, and they went through their 50 seconds up, where they reversed it, and Ochoa got the result at the Intergiro, and back into second spot went Bettini. So they shared the honours so far, those two escapers. One rider trying to bridge the gap on his own. We haven't picked him up on the screen yet for you, but from that original group here, we have one rider trying to get across, Aparicio of the Vitelleccio Seguros team. He's wedged in between this little lot here and the two leaders on the road at the moment. So we've got about 55, 56 kilometres to go to the finish right now, and really the Festina team behind will start to have to pull this one back. As regards the rest of the breakaway group that you're watching on your screen now, none of those riders were in serious contention for the pink jersey. Only the one that we've mentioned already, Bettini, was anywhere near in 15 minutes 27 seconds. That's why, to a large extent, I think the Festina team sat back, let them get on with it, and didn't do much to chase back the break. But I think now they've got to do something about it, recognising that Bettini could climb up the GC, but I certainly don't think they're going to win by 15 minutes today. Here we are, back with those two leaders. The road still drags on a bit, because after the Intergiro, they're going to climb on again up to 54.8 kilometres from the finish. So they've got to get about 9 kilometres of gentle dragging uphill. It's been a sort of like a bit of a step job. They started off on the 14-kilometre climb up to Tortima, 105 metres above sea level. Up they went up the 14-kilometre climb. That's just a bit short of 10 miles, about 8 miles of climbing. And when they got to Tortima, though, 745 metres above sea level, it went straight flat then to Louisiana. And we're now looking back at the King of the Mountains climb I told you about. He was 745 metres above sea level. Bettini on the front. They've come up the worst part of the climb, and they're heading in now 75 metres to go towards the finish of the King of the Mountains points. And that goes to Bettini. You see him there going through. On the King of the Mountains competition at the moment, the green jersey competition, which is the one this morning when they started out on the stage, the overall classification, Pantani has taken the green jersey. Oh, he had it yesterday into the time trial anyway. Zuller second over on general classification, together with Bettini, both of them with 25 points. Pantani has 33 points, so Bettini is now closing the gap down and could well be in green at the end of the stage today. So that would be rather interesting to see if he can take over that green jersey. He's certainly being very buoyant in the attempts to take the green jersey, which will be jolly good again, because that means that the ASICS team will go back into green. Bettini's had the green jersey ever since the stage into Matera on the 23rd of May. He's kept the green jersey. He lost it to Pantani on the stage into Pienacabello when Pantani took it off him, and then kept it, of course, yesterday for the time trial. So Bettini now is certainly on his way back to retake that jersey off the shoulders of Pantani. But there's some, I think Pantani will lie duggo today. This is not a hard day at all. We've got the big ones coming up after this, when after today's stage, which has just sort of sapped the strength of some of the riders, I think, because we've already had a couple of retirements. Zinchenko is one of those that's knocked it on the head and climbed off his bike. But we finish up at Azadzio, drops down tomorrow from Azadzio, straight back down from where they just come, and we finish tomorrow at the top of the Selva Gardena, and that's going to be a hell of a day tomorrow, as we're looking back to the group containing the pink jersey on their way up the climbs here. We had a bit of a comeuppance on the road. I don't think I'm going to show a replay of it, but already there's been a bit of pile-up in that chasing group behind our two leaders. They went round a sharp left-hand bend, and it really was sharp, and most of them thought it wasn't so sharp, and then bang into the barriers, and off they fell. But nothing dangerous, nothing damaging, and so they've really... we may see it again. There was the Ciclamino jersey, the man leading on the points towards the back of the group at the moment, and the fellow in the points competition leading overall on that section of the competition. We just watched him going through there at the moment, and I think he's quite happy that his teammate has got the lead at the moment. And we're going past the main group and up the breakaways in just a moment. And there we are, ASICS then still having quite a stranglehold on the jerseys, because Bartoli, we saw him back down there in the Ciclamino jersey. Could well go back now with a green jersey on the shoulders of Bettini, and at one point we had the Noe of the ASICS team in the pink as well. So ASICS looking to regroup and regain some effort. The blue jersey, which you see jumping around there, they haven't got that one, by the way. That is the Intergiro jersey, and that has been on the shoulders of Fagnini now for an awful long time. Piccoli is 33 seconds back, and Baronti at 45 seconds. And this is a group now at the moment that are still out there from our early break. In the early break, by the way, you had an amazing thing of the original 24 riders. We even got Cipollini in there. So a quick rundown on what was in the original break for you, as you're now looking at what's left to it. It was about 5 kilometres before the climb that they split and started to really make an attack on things and quickly gain time on the rest of the field that wasn't too bothered. At that particular point, they'd got around about 93 or 94 kilometres to go to the finish of the race, and we're back with our two leaders who were in that group, and that could tell you then who has gone away and who were in that group behind you. Probably flashed it a bit quick, but in that group, first of all, Cipollini, who's now dropped back out of it. Fagnini of Psycho Cannondale now dropped out of it as well, so they were in it together with Maros Chilier, who's hanging on for grim death in the group anyway. Also in that group that went away before the climb was Dario Andriotto of the Amore Vita Fosacare team. He had his teammate Federico Profetti with him, and from the ASICS CJ team, the one man we spotted now, Paolo Bertini, was there, the only ASICS CJ man to go away in that breakaway group. From the Balan squad, we got Nicola Loda in that group to begin with, and from Brescia Liquigas, there was Piccoli himself, looking to perhaps get some points on the Intergiaro competition, but he'd been marked out, as you can see, by the man in the blue jersey there, also went with him. In that group as well at the time was Baronti of the Cantina Tolla Alexia Aluminium team. Another breakaway rider was Ocha, who we've just seen down the road, away up there in the lead. He got his teammate with him to begin with, Martin Pedeguero of the Kelma Costa Blanca team. One rider held my favourite number, 69. Soissons Neuf was in there as well in that breakaway group. That was David Lefebvre of the Casino team. Haven't seen much of them recently, but he was in that break too. And Fontanelli of the Mercatone Bianchi team, together with the Baldato of Riso Scotti Awa. As we're back again looking at our two breakaways riders here. The other Riso Scotti Awa rider was in that break to begin with is Cenghielta. And in that group of riders, some 24 men that went away, we have Casarato of the Scrigno team, together with his teammate Filippi Casagrande. And from the Polti team, there was Enrico Cassani. Mirko Gualdi was in that break, together with another of their riders, Fabrizio Guidi. So they well represented the Polti team, and you can see now, he said, come on, you've got to do some work here. If you don't, we're cooked. When you see it on your screen, don't mean to describe what's going on. You can spot it with your own eyes. From the TVM Farm Fritz team, Nikolai Bo Larsson's made that breakaway group, together with his teammate Klaus Mechelmuller, and the other breakaway rider, Dennis Zanet from the Vini Calderola Lognoni team, together with the Vitola Seguros riders. Now wedged between these two, and that's Aparicio. If you don't think the bloke's going to work, blast him off your wheel. But look at this, Bettini's giving a lesson in gentlemanship out on the road, or gentlemanly conduct, I suppose, because Ottawa isn't bothered about doing any work at all. So Bettini said, if I'm going to do all the work, I'll do it on my own, and you can push off, or words to that effect, whatever the Italian equivalent of it is. So we're still on the stage here, with some distance to go in the race. We've got to go about an hour and a quarter's race. There we are. Now, come on, you. Look at he's not going to work. I don't understand this. I know they've got a 15-minute lead on the main pack, which is coming down all the time. I know they've got nearly a minute's lead on the chasing group behind, who is beginning to splinter, by the way, now. So they may be out there, and they may get a chance of the stage victory. But surely you can't, at this particular point, pack up the work as the Kelme Costa Blanca Eurosport rider is doing. You must contribute something, even if it's only half a turn on the front, and pretend you're putting some work in. Well, that drama will unfold before our very eyes, live on Eurosport. I'm David Duffield. Thanks for joining me yet again on this Monday the 1st of June. And what a month we've got ahead of us on Eurosport. Not only the World Cup football, but we also got the Tour of Switzerland coming up as well. And then after the end of June, we go into the a big Tour of Italy, Tour of France, where that will be live on your screens. And we're not only just doing the live performances we've done before and the highlights, but we're actually putting a lot more highlights in the evening for you to get some later information, and we can bring you often live off the screen when we're sat there doing our commentaries, because highlight programmes, we're not doing well on the Tour of Italy this year because of the tennis, which is going full bore, and scheduling problems, but I'm sure we shall do it in the future. But now I'm glad we're covering the Tour of Italy. At the time has flown absolutely by, so I thought, good laws, we're in the last week of the race, and I thought we'd just done 1 week so far. We have in fact done over 2 weeks, and now you can see that this breakaway group is not too bothered about. It's going to sit up here. These are all the chaps I spoke to you about. There's Correa just on your screen. There's the Polti riders that I mentioned to you. And look, Bettini's going to thump him round the ear, I think, if he doesn't get stuck in. Said, whoa, well, so what? You know, I'm enjoying the summer. International language of cycling. Oh, no, the ASICS CJ rider is going to come up. Our team manager is going to come up. He said, look, hey, why don't you work with me, eh? What do you think I am, an ice cream salesman? I'm here riding my bike, you do the same. Oh gosh. Well, they'll sort this out between the two of them. So the Spanish rider, Javier Ocho Palacios, is not going to be on Bettini's Christmas card list, is he? Eh? He's back again. This is what we call wheel sucking, you see, and nobody likes a wheel sucker. Anybody who sits in the wheel like that and gets dragged along and doesn't contribute any of the activity. And the group behind, who also seem to have their differences of opinion, look like they settle back in again. The same thing's happening when you've got so many people behind. There must be at least a dozen there who are standing. Baldato's still in that group. I can see he's managed to stay with them. 1, 2, 3 back now. Baldato's starting to come on the front. The Cantina Tolerado, one of those is still there. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Oh, still 20 of them there. So most of them are still there, except for the rider from the Vitellice Seguros team, Aparicio, who's tried to go away. But they're going to have to settle down as well. They're going to get caught eventually by the main group, but the fun and frivolities are still going up the front. .110, there's the gap back between our two leaders at the moment, and they're having their own personal argument about who's going to do the work. But still, Bettini and Ochoa are down the road, and there they are on your screen now. 110, the gap back to the 20 riders behind them, and over 15 minutes, or about 15 minutes, back to the main pack. Well, looking down there at the rest of the composition of this group, because Martin, his teammate of Ocho, was in that breakaway group. That doesn't mean to say he shouldn't work, but there's obviously some reason that he's decided not to work, and I can't quite understand it. I know that Bettini's on his own from the CGA ASICS team, but there's no reason that the performance of Ochoa there for Kelmy not to ride. And look, he's just sitting on the wheel still. Bettini's going to absolutely blow a gasket here. Well, we've seen things happen in the past. I mentioned before on Eurosport, I hope you don't mind me mentioning again, but I remember that Henk Lubedink, who I think is working with us on the Tour of Switzerland this year, Henk Lubedink did a somewhat similar thing. He towed a rider all the way to the finish, and then just as they were coming down the finishing straight, this particular rider came round the outside of him, romped away to try and get the stage victory, and Henk just thumped him straight into the barriers. Bang! The bloke went base over apex, and that was it. And so Lubedink rode in to get the stage victory, but he was totally disqualified and pushed to the back. But I can understand his feelings, and so can I understand Bettini, who must be absolutely sick as a pig towing Ochoa at the moment. Deputy, if there's somebody up in front he's not too bothered about, and that certainly wasn't Pino coming up alongside this fellow here. So they're not only sending up the number 2 team manager, they're not even giving the chance to work at all. We're splitting at the moment. We've got the two riders. If you just joined Eurosport, we've got Bettini and Ochoa out in front, and the chase group at the moment has been whittled back from the riders we had before now to. Anyway, here's our two leaders, and in this little chase group at the moment, well, chase group back there was Cassani of the Polti team, together with Piccoli of the Brescia Liquidas team. Also in that chase group at the moment is Loda of the Balan team, and together with 157 Moller from TVM Farm Frites and Fedigato from Vitellice Seguros. Oh, I hadn't got him originally, so I hope I got the numbers down right. And 106 in that chase group is Fontanelli, and number 9 is Maraschiera. So that the group that was originally behind is now split in two pieces. This is the main pack we're looking at, and here you can see the two breakaways now, only 34 seconds from the group I've just read out to, so we could have a coming together. The one man that isn't in that group, by the way, is the Kelmy rider Martin, so I suggest that the chap up there in front ought to start contributing now, because anyway, that's the one I've just given you a rundown on. And there they are. And this is the main group. 13:58. So that's okay. The pink jersey is now safe. They've done enough to dislodge Bettini from his moment of glory, and here he is on the front now. And I fear that they're likely to be swollen up as well. But as regards this performance of the camera, I just cannot comprehend it at all. But we finally do get to get hold of Mr. Pino. Be interested what he's got to say. They're working well enough, I think, this little group to catch back. We're back then with the group of the pink jersey. Not bad, this circuit, really. Yeah, 20 seconds. I'm not surprised. I think that what they've done, they just bided their time and waited for the opportunity to pounce, and I think we're going to see the gap come down very quickly now, and we might just find how many went in that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the chasing group. The 7 men chasing now, together with 2, we might find 9 coming together before very long. There they are. 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6. Yes, I've got 7 actually, so we seem to have dropped one somewhere. But anyway, Zula's still in pink. He was very happy yesterday. His mother and father came to see him down there, and it looks the way things are going, he might well keep the pink jersey. With 20 kilometres to go, 2 fugitives might well be caught before we come back after this break. Well, we're back with the chase group here, about to absorb that breakaway group. Bad luck then to Paolo Bettini, who's been trying so hard to win the stage today. Been professional last year, he turned pro. He finished 25th last year in the Giro d'Italia, and of course he's one of those riders that in the under-23 competition at Lugano in 1996, when the Italians finished 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, the 4th man who didn't get a medal was Bettini, and he's going away again now, poor chap. Imagine that, when they romped away in the under-23 competition there at Lugano, the big world championships. Figueres, Scambilleri and Cironi were 1st, 2nd and 3rd. They got a medal, but they invited Bettini up onto the rostrum to share the plaudits, even though he didn't get a medal. But now it looks like he's not going to get his stage victory either here as well. So disappointment for him, because looking back into last year, he only had a 3rd place in one of the German races at Ludwigsburg, Remsek Ludwigsburg, the Hofbrau Cup. He got a 3rd stage there, but he's tried very hard today, Bettini, and of course he's also interested in taking over that green jersey that he's had earlier on in the race, and I think just from the performance on that first climb, he's certainly closed the gap, if not exactly got the green jersey off the shoulders of Pantani. But that'll all change tomorrow, because tomorrow the proverbial is going to hit the fan in no uncertain terms. Well, that's the group at the moment. I think they've got to watch out for the Cannondale rider. He's at the back at the moment. He's been playing shotgun right now. He's normally one of the chaps who does the work to lead out Cipollini, Mario Schrier, but he's quite a quick finisher too as well. In fact, this morning at the start, Mario Cipollini was doing a bit of publicity for the Cannondale team, and they were weighing his bike, and the competition for people to try and guess the weight of his bike, and there was going to be a prize to the person who got the nearest to it. I'm going to, find interestingly too as to what that weight was. It's quite a light bike. It's a bit of aluminium. They've got very thick pipes indeed. Nevertheless, they're quite light, and there was a competition this morning that was organised by the Cannondale people for Mr. Cipollini to have his bike weighed, and off they went. A bit like when we go on the Tour de France and we have a competition there. Feligate, by the 175, he comes from this part of the world, because we are now going a bit north. If you're watching our programme that finished in Schio the other day, that's in this same part of the world as well. So in fact we come through Bassano da Grappa, where we went to very close to the other day. Schio is only some 36 kilometres away from Asiago, so for Feligate it's very much his own local stamping ground, and he wants to stay in that league group because many of his family and friends are certainly going to be out there to watch today's stage, and hope that their lad does well. Feligate, well known to British followers of the sport, because he was the fellow who managed to outwit Chandri at Leeds when he took the Leeds Classic. Now, I don't know why Bettini's still pouncing around so much on the front. If I was him, I'd just sit tight and wait for the whole thing to reform. He's going to the back now, and look who's going last but one. I don't believe it. He's tailing Charlie. Ochoa of Kelme left a hole for Bettini to go in front of him, and that really is something, isn't it, eh? Well, he's still playing tail end Charlie. There's only one place he wants to be, that's following wheels. I don't think somehow the rest of the people are going to be too happy with that either. But there you are, that's what he's done. And here they come. So they should get the bell. Oh. There they go, running over the hedgehog yet again. Just having a quick run down as they go through on who's in this breakaway group from what we had originally, because they were starting out with 24 riders and it's somewhat slimmed down now. There are now 8 men in this league group. And there they are. 146 back to the next chase group. That should be enough if they work well. I don't know if they're going to be that involved, that interested. You see, look, they begin to pick up people who've been lapped as well. It's half the trouble with a circuit race like this, but of course with a 10-mile circuit, the people they're lapping aren't going to be any major problem overall. They're now going past Mark Striel, the Belgian rider for the Casino team, and still sat at the back as ever. It's the tail end Charlie, who doesn't want to do any work at all. Perhaps it's his day off. Perhaps his team manager said, OK, young man, you can have the day off. Just follow the wheels today. So Ochoa of Kelme still sitting on the wheels and not too bothered to do anything about the chase work, which surely should contribute something to this little lot. If you don't come along to the front. Mind you, I remember racing many years ago, and a particular chap, Dick Bowes. Do you remember Dick Bowes? He was Olympic captain in 1948. Dick was a very good one for being in a breakaway group. I remember the first time I went to the road race, I was in the breakaway group and Dick was behind, you know, and all the time I could hear this voice saying, change, go faster, change, go faster, your turn, come here. And I realised in the end that Dick was shouting from the back all the time and making us all go faster, and he never came through. Well, he did sometimes, of course, I'm exaggerating, but he did a wonderful job of making us go faster. But somehow I don't think this Spanish rider, Ochoa, is driving this one at all. He's just sitting there as a passenger. And the trouble is, I don't think he's really going to be able to watch out, because here we got a little attack coming off here. So Magdaleno rider sliding off the front at the moment, and that's Parenzana. I think the trouble, if he goes too far back, is this is what's the danger that's going to happen for Ochoa. Unless he's absolutely legless, he can't really sit back there and expect not to be in the action. You've got to be up near the front and also contribute. Particularly at the moment in the Liquigas colours, the Brescia Liquigas, the blue and white, is now gone there. They're also moving up. I told you, Giro for the Cannondale team has moved up into 4th spot. It's beginning to open up quite a bit, and coming across now for the Vitello Seguros rider, that's Andre Ferragato, the local man, knows this part of the world like the back of his hand. And being a distance just a little bit now, sagging off the back then, Casana's beginning to struggle just a bit. And so of that group, it's splitting. It's not a bad circuit, this one, but there's enough undulations on it for the tired legs to begin to crack on. No, Stria's going away. He's gone off this one, and chasing after them, Ferragato begin to move up to see what he can do about it. 1:49, so it really is beginning to sort itself out now. He's gone further back now, so Ochoa has been really blasted out the back. Bettini has survived that little purge, and he's still sat in there. I'd love him to get the stage, by the way. I think it'd be only poetic justice if he managed to get the stage. We watch now as Stria forces his way through. He nips past Piccoli there in the blue. He goes past Padenza on the left-hand side. He's very quickly tracked down by Ferragato for the Vitalicio Seguros team. As Ferragato, there he is, drifting through. He's a very quick sprinter, by the way, so that can be quite dangerous. They get him towed up there, but they've now all got back together again. So we've got 2, 4, 6 of them, 7 of them there at the moment. Loda's the one drifting at the back. Yes. Now now that's the danger man to me. The Ballon rider, Nicola Loda, just off the back now. Are they going to get with it? We had a quick look at Ochoa, who was still in there, and the Muller from TV Farm Fritz is with him, but they've got to go some to catch back again. It doesn't be too bothered, I think, the riders now. They're looking quite comfort and control on the front. There's Ulla. Oh, now see all the stars and stripes. Look at his jersey. Look at all the close of his jersey. Now that is not legal. That is not registered with the UCI, with the blue and they've got stars and stripes on the jersey, which they've decided to put on. In fact, all the team are riding with the stars and stripes on now. The Cycle Cannondale team. They changed the jersey halfway through the race. It's not registered at all, and they're being fined by the organisation 500 Swiss francs for each rider that's wearing the illegal jerseys. But I suppose Mr. Cannondale is quite happy to pay it to get his name on the television again. So it's all done for a certain set of reasons. So the stars and stripes, which now bedeck the colours of the Psycho Cannondale team, are totally illegal, and they're going to cost them. Well, they've still got 9 men left in the race. 9 times, that's 5 times 45, 4,500 Swiss francs they'll have to dole out today for that being naughty like that. Ferrigato's still driving around the front, and this is back with the main group. And bird's eye, well, not bird's eye, backside. Oh, they moved the camera now to the front. I wonder what it was. It's the only good one. They got the camera on the seat tube. It gave you a rather unusual view. Oh, by the way, the Prudential Tours finished yesterday in London, and you probably got the results of it yesterday. But Stuart O'Grady running out victor, and Jay Speak getting the final stage in Holborn in London. And looking at what we're doing on Eurosport, we've got Tour Switzerland coming up on June the 17th, and the Tour de France July 11th, right the way through every stage, live on Eurosport, and of course the Tour of Spain. But that Tour de France, what a lineup we've got. We've got working for the French, we've got Laurent Fignon working on the German station, we've got Tony Romigo working with me on the English station, we've got Stephen Roche, and we've got John-Paul van Poppel working on the Dutch station. So we've got tremendous lineup of talent for you coming up on Eurosport. And thanks to that flash, by the way, and also thanks to the bit in cycling when Robert Garbett mentioned the fact that we're covering so much cycling now, and they don't already have a satellite dish, and now it's time to splash out. He said about £5 a week. Can you really afford not to? Yeah, because it only costs about 250 quid. As we're having a look here at Loda having problems with his feet. I think about 250 quid to have a satellite dish put in, and you can have it up. You don't have to have a decoder, by the way. If you're listening to this on somebody else's tape and you want to get a dish, provided you're not in an area which doesn't allow you to put dishes on your house, provided you've got a south-facing place, and you've always put it down the garden if you like, and paint it like with flowers, I suppose, to hide it. But at about 250 quid, maybe a bit cheaper than that, you can get a satellite dish, and there's no decoding on Eurosport. It all comes to you free of charge out of the sky, and damn it, a decent set of wheels costs you more than that, doesn't it, lads? So why not splash out, as Robert Garbett said. At long last, we're covering the Tour of Italy. As you saw on his screens, we've still got the other big tours yet to come. Thanks also in cycling to the little comment from Mark Vernon, who was giving Eurosport a bit of a plug and how much he likes what we've been doing so far today. And he went on to say about Professor Duffield's Open University of Cycling. Well, I can't think I've called myself a professor. I'm sometimes very absent-minded, but there we go. Right, and Bettini's now done the right thing. I've told her this fellow's the one to watch. So as Mario Schia of the Psycho Cannondale team rockets away with his red, white and blue stripes on his jersey to show that the Americans are involved in the Tour of Italy. So Bettini is burying himself here. Well, I say he got 4th place in the under-23 championship at Lugano. What's he going to do here today? Let's hope it isn't 4th, because he's worked himself to an absolute frazzle to try and win the stage today, and he's certainly, I think, worthy of a place up there in the top 3 places. Let's hope it's first out of 3. So Schia and Bettini, on the way they go. 10 camis to go. And yes, I said with the Pru Tour finish, I had the good fortune to meet up with a fellow called Ron Beams, whose father started with the Pru, and I think he was in 1928 his father started with the Pru. I mean, it's a very old company, and Ron Beams, met up with him. He was also started with the Pru. I think his father started in 1901. That's right. I think he started in 1928. So the great family tradition going with the Prudential, which dates back an awful long time. And they went past their delightful buildings in Holborn yesterday to finish the race. Let's wish them luck with that. I'm sorry about the problems that you had during the race, but they got a 4-year contract with Alan Rushton and the Sport for Television Group to keep the race going. And I'm sure we're all looking forward to the race next year. And congratulations then to Stuart O'Grady for getting the victory. What a lot of strong Australians there are about now. As we have a quick look on our screen at Alex Zuller from Switzerland. All the nations begin to change somewhat because Stuart O'Grady, Henk Vogels, Jay Sweet now winning the stage yesterday from Australia, Brad McGee, an Australian rider, and so many of them top Australians now swarming in. Of course, not forget Neil Stevens as well, who set the scene recently. Tremendous. We're inside those final 10 kilometres, and it's still going to be anybody's race. The move by Maris Correa in the red to take over the front running has come to nothing now. He's closed down by Bettini, and then suddenly they've also got Padenzana moving up to join them from the Mercatonuna Bianchi team, and he's just got onto the wheel and he's doing nothing to try and aid the chase now. Moving then in towards the finish, and it looks like certainly that's 8 men or so that are either here or just behind could well be in with a shout for the victory. The main pack behind them with a pink jersey, not too concerned now on what's going to happen. We've had sprint finishes in the past, by the way. In 1967 we had a finish when Zandegu, who was riding for the Salvarani team, he won the stage that day ahead of Altig and Vandenberg. Yes, Rudy Altig, who used to work with us on Eurosport, second here in 1967. And we've come through the part of the world too around here where the World Championships at Montello in 1985, Zotemuc won that one. And the last time we were in Alzagio for a finish, 1972, De Vlamic won the sprint then. Who's going to add his name to the list of the stars from this part of the world? The local rider Ferrigato has now been distanced by these 3 men. He may be just biding his time to try and sweep up and grab the victory, but still on the front, Mario Schrier, the much stronger, I think, of this group of 3 men here. Bettini, having been away with this group, they went away, if you just turned on our coverage of Eurosport cycling, they went away 5 kilometres before the climb of the day. Only one climb today that they had to contend with, and that particular climb was with 152 kilometres covered, 74 kilometres from the finish. So Mario Bettini in that breakaway group has been away now since, about 80 kilometres from the start, so he's had about 50 miles out there as a bell goes for the main group, who the last time check we had was something around about 13 minutes behind our breakaways, but that won't have much concern to the pink jersey, although Bettini will certainly leap up the classification. There he is on your screen now, number 22. It's going to be a great day for him, Bettini, and at the moment is still in there after some 50 miles with these other 2 riders. One time there was 24 riders away, and Bettini's going yet again. This man is absolutely determined to get his victory today. Paolo Bettini. And I'd like him to get it, by the way. As I said, it when in 1996, the first, second, third and fourth were Italians in under-23 champions. He was the 4th one who missed out on a medal. And I think he deserves something because he hasn't had a great victory, really, since he turned pro in 1997. And for Bettini, a chance today. He's really been driving hard. I don't think this little group here are going to catch them back. There's Piccoli on the front for the Brescia Liquigas team. And then just behind that's Nicola Loda for Balan. 12:23 to the red jersey group. Well, Bettini started out this morning in 32nd spot, 15 minutes and 27 back. So if he gains 13 minutes, he's going to be within 2 or 3 minutes of Alex Zuller. So he could well move up into about 3rd or 4th position. But come on, boy, keep going, drive it hard, come on, get over the top 3, whatever you do. This has been tremendous today. He's been really working hard. He towed the Comic Cluster Branca rider Okoa for an awful long time. He's had the guts to keep attacking as Bettini. He comes from a place called Miane, and he's now looking for the victory day. Nothing came his way when he turned pro last year, and just coming in the Tour of Italy last year, working a domestique, and now looking for something that will... sorry, he comes from Cecina, 25th last year in the Tour of Italy. Had no success. His best place was 35th in Tirreno Adriatico. 30 seconds back to the three ride. They've got 5 kilometres to go for Bettini. Just 24 years of age, quite a young age for riding the big tours. I know one or two exceptionally young youngsters do well, but normally around about 27 to 30 are the peak years for the tour riders. But so far today on this stage, 16 from Udine to Asiago. That man, they're having a swift little sherbet. The fellow sitting just back behind the big fellow Schier with Provenzano up in front. Now don't ease back too much, lads, because they're only 30 seconds adrift behind you and they can come at you rather quickly. They've got to keep going now. And I can't quite understand why they're not working in relays. Provenzano doesn't seem to be too keen to come through and do too much. Well, he's going to be quite happy to keep that pink jersey. Is sort of going on into the stage tomorrow. Oh, he's coming through now. Yes, they're working well. Good. That's much better. One swings out, one comes through. One swings out, one comes through. Looking much better now. Bettini still on the front for ASIC CGA. Then Maraschier for the Canadel Psycho team in the red goes through. Provenzano for the Mercatone Uno team next to try and keep it going. And these are the chasers, all of them going comfortably, not fast enough, I think, at the moment to pull them back. They have to really start pouring on the coals towards the end. Sorry, 106, it's not 105. It must be Fontanelli, not Provenzano in that group. Well, the chase is not really coordinated, and there's every chance then of this three-man group staying away. Schier, undoubtedly the biggest fellow in this group, and it's 106 it is, so certainly for the Mercatone Uno team, Fontanelli. Well, he's a very experienced rider indeed, 33 years of age. Imagine the man up in front, 24 years of age, Bettini. What a tremendous contrast we've got here in age and experience. And Schier, the big, more powerful one of these two riders here, I would think, just hovering, waiting for his chance to come through and have a go. They can't allow any tactics to take place now. Fontanelli is still on the front. They must keep the thing going. 15 seconds, he's coming back. They must start to ride a bit harder than this then, because they could be caught if they're not careful. Back group then looking very, very quick now. So they've got to start riding together. So they've got to watch each other. In that last kilometre, for instance, they look over their shoulders, they can find themselves in all sorts of trouble. Here they are then. Well, Schier also without a win last year. So these three are searching for something rather special today, but if they don't keep working together, they're going to find themselves in a bit of trouble. Whereas Fontanelli last year won a stage. His only victory last year was in the Tour of Italy, Fabio Fontanelli. He's on the front again. He knows you've got to keep driving this one. He won a stage in the Tour of Italy the year before as well, so he's quite a consistent stage victor in the Tour. He knows what it's like to be up there on the victory rostrum. Can he get this one now? As he gets very close indeed then, and he's having a quick word then with Fontanelli, with Schier. I'm not quite sure whether they're trying to work something over Bettini, or whether he was saying a few polite words to the way in which Schier ran. Bettini's going yet again. This man is indefatigable. He's so determined to keep the thing going. He realises 15 seconds they can soon get swallowed up. He's had the guts to be away. In fact, all these three riders have been away now for some 50 miles, but certainly Bettini was the one who launched the biggest attack when he went off and towed the Calme rider Ochoa for all that way through. And Bettini going, he's had the King of the Mountains jersey in the Tour of Italy so far. He took it over on day 19th of May when he took the King of the Mountains jersey. He wore it for 3 days. Zulu got it back when we went up to Lago Laceno. He got it back again and fought his way through until he lost it on the stage at Pencabello when Pantani took the green jersey off him. And now he's very spiritedly here, trying to attack these riders as well. They find Shreya looks a bit like the big climb might have knocked the stuffing out of him a little bit. He doesn't seem to be as perky to me, the fellow in red, as the other two do as well. They'll soon be able to see the kites, the red kite, which shows them they've got just 1 kilometre to go. And then who's going to get this stage? They can't slow down this amount. It's been done before when people have suddenly eased back to set themselves up. And so Shreya at the back only ever had 2 victories since he turned pro. Bettini's had no victories since he turned pro. The most experienced one of the lot is the fellow now in the light-coloured yellow and light-coloured blue colours of Mercato Bianchi, because Fabio Fontanelli, 3, 8, 14, 19, 26, 27 victories to the man on the front, and the other two are there. Bettini, no victories at all until the start this year. Now leading through, Fontanelli looking at Shreya, waiting for him to come through and jump on his wheel. They've got to keep rolling now. Real 3-up sprint tactics, this one. Bettini's been absolutely flogging himself to a standstill all the way through to try and get the stage victory today, and now he's on the front again, and they cannot do cat and mouse stuff here because the chasers will come up very quickly indeed. Look at them looking back. They're not only looking at each other, looking to see where the group's coming from behind, and they're not careful. They might not notice them through the motorcycles, because you often get hidden riders coming up very quickly. As they're looking, they're getting very close to the barriers, and they're going to decide, is it between us three or do we have any company? At the moment, still, they've got the official cars behind them, which says that the bunch has not caught up with them. It's down to these three then. Fontanelli on the front then for Mercato Bianchi, and on the right-hand side, Bettini starts to go. Rocketing up on the right-hand side, Bettini goes, and the looming figure of Shreya in red is starting to thunder after him, and Bettini's go on, man. Come on, Bettini, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, no. Oh, he's lost it. Sackcloth and ashes. Well, we commentators are supposed to not to take sides, but honestly, the one bloke I wanted to win today was Bettini, and we all go, and I expect you at home did the same thing too. That man had guts today, and I'll say after in the World Championship in Lugano, when the 4 Italians that finished first, second, third and fourth, he didn't get a medal, he was fourth in under 23, and today he didn't get the medal, he was second, and nobody remembers very often who's second, because when it goes down the list, I won a stage in the Tour of Italy. They remember that, they never remember who was second. So he was beaten then fair and square in the sprint, and at least they're smiling about it now. They really, all of them, were prepared to give it their all when they came through. No dirty taxi door. Not in Bettini, though. He towed that Calmi Casablanca rider for so long at 15 minutes and 27 seconds. So the other useful thing, and damn it, excitement to see if Bettini won the stage. And here he comes now. I forgot to check the time, because he certainly leapt up the general classification and could well find himself up there, probably, certainly in the top 10. Which is quite interesting, because his teammates know he is 5th overall, Bartoli is 6th overall, so he might have joined his teammates. And the ASICS CJ team have been so good. They've had the pink jersey, the Ciclamino jersey of points, had the green jersey King of the Mountain as well, and they nearly got a stage victory today, which instead went to Fontanelli. See how he got it? Here he goes. Fontanelli, just by a gnat's whisker or whatever is the Italian equivalent of that one, forcing himself through, and a disappointment for Bettini, but success for the Mercato rider.